My former boss contacted me a few days ago with an unusual request. She wanted to know if I was interested in sleeping with her while her husband watched us. I said I was the wrong guy for the job, but she disagreed and said I was the perfect guy based on a random one-night stand we had years ago, before she remarried. She said her new husband wanted to watch her fuck another guy and she was into it. I agreed to discuss the possibility in person, especially when she offered to pay for dinner. I forgot how attractive she was until I saw her face to face. She introduced me to her new husband who wanted me to understand that all he wanted was to be an observer in the bedroom. He made it sound like the worst case scenario was that I would have sex, which I believed, so yeah, I said yes. Fast forward to the fucking. A couple of days had now passed since I said yes. I was in the missionary position when I heard snoring and farting coming from the so-called observer. The husband passed out at some point, but obviously not quietly, which affected my concentration on the sex because the snoring was distracting and the farting was disgusting. My ex-boss apologized on her husband's behalf before grabbing the box of tissues next to the bed and aggressively hurling it at her unconscious husband. Aim was off, tissue box missed the target, prompting my ex-boss to hysterically scream her husband's name over and over into my ears while I was still laying pipe and trying to pretend that absolutely nothing weird was happening. The husband eventually woke up after my ex-boss managed to scream his name at the top of her lungs. Cue all-out war. My ex-boss called her husband rude for falling asleep. The husband said he had a long day at work. My ex-boss scoffed and said he had no clue what a long day at work looked like because what he did in one day was nothing compared to what she had to do every day as an independent businesswoman. The husband said he had zero energy for another boss bitch speech. My ex-boss looked at me and said her husband had zero energy on a permanent basis. I asked both of them if they wanted me to stop fucking and give them privacy because I was awkwardly thrusting in silence while listening to them. My ex-boss said I should ask her husband since the whole thing was his idea. The husband unexpectedly slapped my butt on his way towards the bedroom door and said I should come and call it a night. I didn't finish, but I did call it a night when I realized that my desire to get away from my ex-boss and her husband outweighed my desire to get off. One night stand should have been enough, but I just had to come back for more, which I now regret. Update. So, there I was, face to face with my former boss and her flatulent husband once again. I agreed to meet them at the same restaurant as the last time because the free food was the only good thing I remembered. The purpose of the meeting according to my former boss was to clear the air following what happened. A phone call or a message or no communication at all would have been more than acceptable for me because I just wanted to move on, but my ex-boss insisted on restoring peace in person. I eventually said yes. The husband was in the men's room when I showed up for the meeting, which made me laugh a little on the inside because it seemed like an unintentional nod to how active his ass was during our previous interaction. My ex-boss thanked me for agreeing to meet with her and said her husband would join us soon. Meanwhile, she apologized for how unfortunate things turned out when we had sex before telling me that she had been brainstorming ways to improve the experience for next time. The husband emerged from the men's room at that moment and greeted me with an awkward fist bump and an unspoken hello again while his wife was trying to convince me to accept another invitation into their bedroom. She persuaded me to at least hear her out before I said yes or no. Her plan was to pivot her approach in the bedroom and embrace the dominant position during sex because she believed her husband would be less likely to fall asleep again if he was watching her put on a show and take control. My ex-boss paused at that point and looked at her husband like that was his cue to swallow his sushi and add to what she was saying. The husband pointed his chopsticks at me and said he expected more energy from a young guy, but based on what he observed while he was still awake, I was fucking his wife the same way he fucked his wife whenever he's more in the mood to masturbate. I said having sex with another man's wife while the man was in the room was like trying to poop comfortably while a random person was watching. The husband asked if I made moaning noises when I pooped. I said my moans mid-poop was dependent on how hard I had to push to unclog my colon. The husband said I might need to start pretending that I'm pushing as hard as possible when I sleep with someone because I never made a sound when I was intimate with his wife, which apparently contributed to his struggle to stay awake. I said pretending to poop during sex was sound advice coming from a guy who was unable to stop farting while I was fucking in front of him. My ex-boss pushed her plate away and said she lost her appetite listening to us. I said I didn't think I was sexually compatible with my ex-boss and her husband and suggested that they get another guy for the job. My ex-boss pointed out that the two of us were very sexually compatible when we had our one-night stand prior to her meeting her husband. I said I wouldn't call that sexually compatible since she was my boss back then and both of us were drunk. The husband said now he lost his appetite too. I said I had someone in mind that might be perfect for what they want. The husband sarcastically asked if it's another young employee his wife hooked up with. I said it was one of my more sexually experienced friends. My ex-boss said if it's not me then it's no one. The husband encouraged his wife to at least allow me to provide more information about my friend before instantly calling off the whole thing. The information I provided prompted my ex-boss and her husband to agree to meet my friend. I contacted my friend the following day and explained the situation. He became interested as soon as I showed him photos of my ex-boss. I shared his contact details with my ex-boss with his permission and thought that would be the end of my involvement in this circus. Little did I know that my friend would call me a few days later to ask me why the fuck I never warned him that the husband had a pit bull. I said I didn't know. My friend said he had to fuck my ex-boss in front of the husband and his hellhound. I asked my friend if the pit bull did anything to hurt him. He said the dog barked from time to time and then the husband would either shush the dog or translate and tell my friend what the dog wanted him to do or not do during sex. I was at a loss for words. My friend said the husband slapped his butt when he finished and called him a good boy. It sounded so ridiculous, I was struggling not to laugh. However, I did feel bad for my friend because I could relate. My friend said he would have punched the husband if the pit bull was not in the picture. I apologized for introducing him to my ex-boss and her husband. My friend thanked me for the trauma and said bye bro. I decided to do what I should have done after my last post and blocked my ex-boss. She's crazy, but I think she somehow married someone even crazier. I'm still working on a way to make